Five, four, three, two, one. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, if you know me very well, you know I stay away from a lot of stuff that is popular. Even if it's big news, because I don't want to tell you how to live life. I don't want to tell you how to fix society. I'll tell you how to make money in advertising and marketing, and that's about as far as I get. Right? Your opinions are your own, and mine are my own. But I don't have thousands of followers on here anyway. So now you're going to get it with both barrels. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, literally years. And I welcome some of the people who have shaken my head a little bit. Because there are two issues that we're facing. One is the statistical issue, which is that police are generally great people who are trying to help. And I don't envy their job at all. As that guy from the Milwaukee Police Department in, I think it was 2014 or 15. It's gone viral now, but it wasn't from now. It was from earlier, where he says, where's the compassion for all of the victims of crime, of guys shooting off guns into homes and killing kids? Where's the outrage of that? And we, the police, are trying to clean that up, and not very well. And he's got a great point. There's some bigger issues than the cops killing blacks because they kill whites much more. And that's the statistics of it. The statistics of it that you aren't hearing is that that's not the biggest issue. There's way bigger issues. As Candace Owens said before Congress, the biggest issue is absent fathers. But I'm not going to go there because I have nothing to say in that arena. Even though Congress had two white professors talking and wouldn't let Candace say anything. She said, white fascism or whatever, white supremacy is not even on the top 100 issues that face the black community. Okay, so let's go over to Mark Ritson. Okay, and he's asking the question, if Black Lives Matter to brands. And this is, I think, a good place to start because he's not telling you what to believe or me what to believe. He's saying, okay, let's see where there's something that can change. And I appreciate that. And he said he used to work for Louis Vuitton, and they made a beautiful montage travel commercial, 90-second, and he was literally in tears watching it. I literally had tears in my eyes when they showed it to me in Paris about how Louis Vuitton has a history and a culture of helping people travel and see the world and experience life. And he showed, he said, this is what branding is all about, and he showed it to his students and all this different stuff. And then one day he went to a movie in his neighborhood in Cambridge, and the 90-second ad began to play, and he was moved even more because of the big screen experience. And the cinema erupted. Bullshit, shouted one audience member, and then a lot of other people said, this is just nonsense. This is not where we live. And, that may not have been the right venue. Marketing is about talking to the audience. And I'm sure there are some people who that is going to connect. Mostly the marketers who produced it. And that was Mark's point. That was his big point. The oldest rule of marketing is you're not the consumer. And I don't know how many meetings I've been in where I point something out to a CFO or a founder of what I see in the data, and they say, well, that's not our market. You've heard me tell the story of Baseball Express. I said, do you sell to businesses? They said, no, we're strictly consumer. I said, who buys these $5,000 pitching machines? They said, oh, leagues, colleges, even major league teams. And I said, and you're not in the business of business to business? No, strictly consumer. They actually said that as a follow-up. Anyway, but they were not in the mood for French luxury, and the challenge is that we think brands matter, that our brand matters, that we think advertising is important, we think other people care. And bubble-bound marketers, they've been climbing over themselves to speak out, to make a difference, to take a stand. And Nike wants to make a statement about racism, and they, put up an ad about it. And then look at the Nike leadership team, and here's the people on their website. Now, the part that really resonates with me is, he goes on to say, this is a company that markets to African American athletes, to black kids. Did my kids buy Nike? Did I buy them Nike? No. No. I didn't buy them Nike. Why? I didn't buy them Nike because I thought it was overpriced. You need sneakers? One of my daughter, a couple of them were on, I think all of them were on the tennis teams at college, and my son was a cross-country guy. And they all cared about tennis shoes, but, it was like, this ain't happening. Anyway, so they're not marketing to me, and they're marketing to the black kids. And all of their leadership team was white. And then he went on to talk about Adidas, who did even more pandering ad and is the same market. And here's their leadership team, all white. And, I'm not for, and I'll get into this a little more, I'm not for just firing boards of directors because because of race. I think that is racism, okay? Flat out. On the other hand, there are some great black athletes that have been great in business. Great businessmen or women. I love that Condoleezza Rice was put on the board or joined the board of the NCAA. Great athlete, great thinker, just great. I wish she were still in politics because, I'd vote for her in a second. But anyway, Spotify, another one, just pandering. And here's their team. They want to make it count for black athletes. L'Oreal, all white, all, and Apple Music, okay, walk, talk, right, okay, and there's it's hard to be on a board of directors. I've been on a couple, and it's hard to get on them, and it's hard to make a contribution because the people there are a high caliber. And one of the jokes these days is that there were so many companies switching out from, the VP of marketing or the director of marketing and making it the CMO, the chief marketing officer. And we're going to put a marketing person on the board of directors so that we have customer focus. And now they're getting rid of them because they don't know how to turn the crank. They don't know how to do marketing. They don't know how to take $1 of advertising and guarantee that it's going to generate more than $1 of net profit. And if it doesn't, then you're fired. You should be fired. Okay? You should be talking about 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 and 900% return on investments of your marketing dollar. Or it's not worth it because an average across the world is you should be spending about 10% of your gross revenue on marketing, which means it's got to generate, every dollar's got to generate 10 times that in sales, or it doesn't work sustainably. And that's the way it is. And most marketers have no concept of that. None whatsoever. And so, but, and there's a rumor that Beyonce and Reebok met last year, and they were going to do a co-branded collection. And she stopped the meeting and said, is this the team that'll be working on my product? And they said, yeah. And she said, nobody in this room, as she's walking to the door, nobody in this room reflects my skin color and where I'm from and what I want to do. And she left. Now, they deny that meeting ever even took place. But that's something to think about. Especially if you make a huge, disproportionate percent of your revenue from black America, right? I mean, I'm not all in for every ad being aimed at African Americans. If you're selling, I don't know what, maybe they do buy everything, but my niece, who's cute as a button, was doing modeling, a lot of modeling. They loved her attitude. She was just teeny, 2, 3, 4, but then they basically said you can't anymore because you're white, and we need to show diversity in our ads. And this was mainly, she was working for a big chain that is more in the suburbs than it is in the downtown area. If it were I don't know, Dollar Tree's big in urban areas, but it wasn't. It was nothing like that. So, I'm not for that. I'm for connecting with your brand. And the fact is, and people have lost sight of this, I think, the fact is there's a lot of white people in America. A lot of people came from Europe, a lot of Northern Europeans. And so it's not our fault that we're here. Our great-grandfather brought us here. We no more chose this place than you did. Okay? We're all products of past generations. So, and Scott Adams made a great point today. The protesters were not in favor of the looters. They were not in favor of the anarchists. The police were not in favor of the looters. They were not in favor of the anarchists. The store owners were not in favor of the looters and not in favor of the anarchists. We are more united right now as a country than maybe we've ever been. And I want you to understand that. The media wants us to think this is a race issue. It's not a race issue. It's a competence issue. And now we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into one story of what I know someone's doing. Okay? There's a company called Get Beyond. And the guy who founded it is a guy named Bob Carr. And Bob Carr was in a rough family in central Illinois growing up and had really no hope of an opportunity at all. And Bob, and this is in his book, Through the Fire, and Bob was in school and was doing okay in school. And the local women's club had a scholarship. It was just $200. Back in the day, that was, even in my day, and he's a little older than me, but that wouldn't have paid tuition, but it was an encouragement. And they gave it to him. And not only did they do that, but they gave him somebody to, I think, to move in with and to get mentored a little bit about life, because his parents were basically absent. And Bob went on to Illinois, I think it was University of Illinois or Illinois State, and Bob learned a program, and Bob ended up inventing the pay at the pump. I'm pretty sure about that. Which makes us all happy, Think of the coronavirus if you couldn't pay at the pump, right? We like that. That's it, And Bob founded Heartland Payment Systems, and a great company, but it eventually got bought out. But while he was doing that, he started some foundations. He went back and spoke to that women's club, and he gave them, I think, $100,000 to fund more scholarships. And he's started an organization called Give Something Back. Okay? And there are stories in there about kids who mostly come from families where their mom or dad are in prison and they get put in the foster system. And mostly they drop out of school and they try to keep their families together. And he gives those kids full ride scholarships. He has a book called First Chance, which I read. Powerful, powerful book. And it's basically just testimonies of kids whose lives have changed and who are now making a difference. And I highly recommend this book. This is, you may not be able to change the board of directors of Nike or even your own board of directors, because I don't know what. But this book is making a change. This organization is making a change for one person, then another, and those people get out and give back. And we need more of that. And I urge you to talk to high school kids and give them hope. And let them know that the way that change happens for the Germans that came. When I was a kid, I was called Kraut. I got teased in school because I was German. And can you imagine? In the Milwaukee Metro or whatever, I was teased for that. But, when I was growing up, there were a lot of World War II shows on TV, Combat and McHale's Navy and, Hogan's Heroes, where the Germans were not portrayed well. And, you think that's, but I was a minority, German Americans, right? And the way it changes is you get out and you work really hard. And if you're smart, you get a mentor. So I would encourage all high school kids who want to make a difference to find somebody in their sphere that can help them. We want to help. There's nothing better than a kid who wants to grow and wants to change and wants to see how far they can go in life. There's almost no limit to the opportunities you'll find. I want to tell you that. I want you to order this book. After Homelessness. This kid was homeless in high school. He's now through college. Graduated this year. And he's already has a thriving nonprofit organization designed to mentor kids from troubled backgrounds, like himself. That kid's making a difference. That's amazing. So, if you don't know how to help, get in touch. Make a difference for somebody. That's the way we change. And invest in companies. And then you'll have a say in who's on their board of directors. Make a difference. Make a living. Take care of yourself, then take care of your family, then take care of your community. That's the only way. There's no shortcuts. Yeah, you can have the government say we need more diversity on the police force or we need more diversity on boards, but anytime they just enforce that, it's racism. Call it what it is. That's not how change happens. Change happens by everybody working together, seeing that we're on the same page. The greatest underutilized investment in America is probably the inner city, probably those kids. Underutilized investment. And now we have opportunity zones. That I wrote to the White House and I said, this is what you need to do in America. You need to put in opportunity zones. You need to give tax incentives and other incentives to invest in the inner city. And thank God things are calming down a little bit. And maybe, one of the things, this is the way a businessman thinks. With the terrible destruction also comes the opportunity to rebuild. The Civil War destroyed most of the railroads in the South. And a lot of them even up into the North. Terrible. All the railroads were broken. Guess what happened? America, unlike Europe, still to this day, when they built the Channel and they wanted to take British trains into France, the British trains were a couple inches wider, and they wouldn't line up on the French railroads. And there was a big business in putting in a different gauge railroad so that people would have to offload their cargo from one train onto another to go to the next city. But the Civil War destroyed all that. And the Civil War tore up all the railroads, and guess what? We had one gauge. And not long after the Civil War, we put a railroad all the way to the West Coast. That made America. Not that the Civil War is a good thing, but good can happen. We're ready now. We're ready for the greatest economic expansion we've ever seen. And the way to do it is to invest in the people that want to succeed. I'm John Miglosh. Like and share. Bye-bye.